Ted Kennedy proves he's a party man no matter who the candidate is. Good evening, I'm Chris Gordon.
And I'm Paul Berry. The story of the Democrats' born-again unity and a report on jumbo jets at National Airport, all coming up next on News 7.
Do it at the Gap. Get that do it up feeling. Do it up.
Yellow tag in America and see what you can get for under $13 at the Gap. The great colorful look of chinos for only $11.90. And guys' painter's pants topped off with plaid shirts, each just $11.90. And get Levi's for less. Guys' Levi's straights are now only $12.90.
Fall into the Gap.
$13 still goes a long way at the Gap, America.
24 hours ago, I put on Maybelline's Fresh Lash Mascara, and I've been non-stop ever since. Beat Shelley unless it doubles, swam 10 laps.
Fresh Lash is the 24-hour formula that seals color on your lashes all day, all night. Conditions, too.
Sang past midnight, slept like a stone. After 24 hours, my lashes still look fresh.
Smear-proof, sleep-proof Fresh Lash. 24-hour mascara that conditions, too.
From Maybelline.
Share the beauty of a rainbow from KTEL, the soft sounds of today's music. Also includes Sail On and I Pledge My Love.
Yes, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Plus Fire in the Morning and Lot of Love.
Woman, don't you know it?
Rainbow, in tune with the 80s. Share it with someone special. Available at these and other fine stores.
The Skins take on the Cleveland Browns Monday at 8. From the District, Maryland, Virginia, and the world, this is News 7 with Paul Berry and Chris Gordon.
Good evening. Jumbo jets may be coming to National Airport. News 7 has learned that the Federal Aviation Administration tomorrow will give the green light, allowing wide-body jets to take off and land across the Potomac River. But a storm of controversy over the plan is brewing, and later in this broadcast, we will talk live to a newsmaker, a pilot, who fears that safety risks are being overlooked.
And Chris, who can overlook the Orioles-Yankees series? Tonight the Birds begin a 5-game homestand, which could be critical to their pennant drive. Tim Brandt will have live reports from Memorial Stadium.
And also, of course, John Spiropoulos reports that the D.C. gas tax could leave us all high and dry if ever there's another gas shortage. And we'll have the latest on Prince George's County and the strike there and the Democratic Convention. Speaking of that, in New York, it looks like party unity will prevail after all. Senator Edward Kennedy has promised to appear on the podium with President Carter and Vice President Mondale tonight after all the speech-making is over. News 7's David Shoemaker is standing by with us live right now with this report from Madison Square Garden. David?
Well, Chris, one thing you can say about this week's convention, for a change, all of the emotion has been contained inside the convention hall. In the past, conventions of the Democrats have been surrounded by protesters protesting the draft, the war, the bomb, the left or the right or something. 68 was the high water mark, of course. The Chicago Convention Hall and the Hilton Hotel surrounded by police and barbed wire. New York police, somewhat notorious for their enthusiastic crowd control in the past, have been braced all week. Clubs and helmets and horses and barricades at the ready. The most they've had to deal with is a delegate trying to jaywalk. There have been a few demonstrations this week, but police always outnumbered the crowd by 10 to 1 or more. And after all, pro-lifers and farmers and born-again Christians are not ones to practice violent confrontation. Occasionally, even the police have hummed along with some of the songs. So, the times they may be a-changin', but they're changing in the other direction. Jerry Rubin, once the leader of the most passionate anti-war demonstrations, today is selling bonds on Wall Street, just a few blocks away. I'll tell you how peaceful and quiet and cooperative things are at this Democratic National Convention. I was just looking around, and all of the reporters and camera crews who normally are pushing and shoving each other today are taking pictures of each other. Chris and Paul?
Okay.
Yeah, David, we want to ask you, we had heard a report that some black delegates might be walking out of the convention tonight before President Carter speaks, and that was in protest over his lukewarm endorsement of that $12 billion jobs bill. There's about 400 black delegates. Do you get any feeling that some of them will walk?
Well, there have been a number of people who have threatened to walk out, but it's not that well organized, and it's hard to tell just how many are walking out or how many are anxious to beat the rush and get early planes home. Certainly there are many delegates, not only black delegates, but machinist delegates, for instance, some from one of our own delegations, the Maryland delegation, who are upset and feel that they can't quite trust the president on this whole platform issue. As one of them put it, in a week or two he can throw the platform in the Potomac and nothing will be heard of it again. So there will be probably some people who will either walk out or boycott the convention. But on the whole, unity is slowly congealing, let's say, the Democratic delegates to this convention.
Well, David, is it possible that that this convention is going to be the springboard that obviously either party wants their Republican or Democratic convention to be, that springboard to the race to November? Do you get the feeling that they're leaving there enthusiastic about what's going to happen in November, that their candidate Carter is definitely going to be the man and they're going to work hard for him?
I suspect that President Carter never expected that this convention was going to be a springboard into the fall campaign. I think perhaps today he is more grateful than you might imagine. At least it hasn't built any new walls between him and the fall campaign. He will at least be able to go out of here with some kind of an endorsement from Senator Kennedy, and after a respectable period, I would imagine that the campaign will be able to pick up speed pretty quickly.
Thank you very much, David. Paul, you know, there's an old saying in political circles, you can buy the dog in the window, but you can't buy the wag of its tail, and I think that's what you're saying. Are these Democrats really going to be enthusiastic now? The grassroots support, are they going to stuff the envelopes and make the phone calls needed for Carter to overcome the deficit in the polls?
I got to, you know, based on what David said, obviously Carter does not expect this to be the case, but I think with the feeling toward Reagan as a candidate, I think there's a lot that the Democrats can go after, and I think probably the momentum is going to pick up from that point. Chris, what do you think?
I think so, too. Robert Strauss, the campaign chairman for Carter the other day, as you remember, said, one thing that unifies Democrats is Ronald Reagan. So there you are.
Well, speaking of the Republican Party, there was a woman who left the Republican Party, or some say forced out, because of its stand on women's rights. Well, that woman has joined John Anderson's campaign. Mary Crisp, one-time co-chair of the GOP, announced she has taken a top post in the independent candidates' camp. In addition to Crisp, Anderson says he expects to pick up widespread support among Democrats, especially those who had supported Senator Kennedy. And coming up next on News 7, our report that National Airport may soon be landing jumbo jets, big ones. And our live newsmaker features a pilot, one of those pilots who would have to come in there, Chris.
That's right. And Fred Weiss will be along. He'll be talking about day 21 of 90-degree plus temperatures in our area. Stay tuned. News 7 continues.
And we're here at Memorial Stadium. The gates haven't opened yet, but outside there are long lines, a World Series type atmosphere. We'll have that story when we come back.
The second annual Giant Inventory Reduction Sale from your local Chrysler, Plymouth, and Dodge dealers. 20 dealers in 2 different locations with over 2,000 vehicles to choose from. Like our made-in-USA high-mileage Omnis and Horizons that beat Toyota, Datsun, and Volkswagen. And many more. Plus, you'll get immediate delivery, instant trades, and 10.97% financing. We're in business to stay, and we're celebrating by really doing business this Friday and Saturday at Landmark Center and Capitol Center.
Why pay more than $11.88 for a quality athletic shoe when you can skip it? Skip it running, skip it sunning, skip it riding, skip it sliding. In Skips, the lightweight action shoe from Ward's with traction-treaded rubber sole, cushioned arch and insole, and shock-absorbing rubber wedge. Skips are topped in cool nylon with suede split leather trim and are now $6 off, just $11.88. Why pay more? Get Skips from Montgomery Ward.
Now, live on stage at the Warner Theater in Washington, the Broadway star Herschel Bernardi in the original Broadway production of the all-awards-winning Fiddler on the Roof.
If I were a rich man, all day long, I'd biddy-biddy-bum. If I were a wealthy man.
Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset.
Once in a great while, a musical comes along that all people all over the world can feel deep inside. Fiddler on the Roof is such a musical.
To life, l'chaim. L'chaim, l'chaim, to life.
Get your tickets for Fiddler on the Roof at the box office now, or call 737-2222. That's 737-2222. Fiddler on the Roof. It's a show for the whole family. To life!
The Federal Aviation Administration is expected to announce its approval of jumbo or wide-body jet aircraft use at National Airport. FAA officials simply are not talking, but a major news conference has been called for tomorrow morning. The expected approval by the FAA comes in the wake of strong opposition by the pilots who will have to fly the aircraft in. And with us live is one of those pilots, Captain John Ruddy, a pilot with one of the biggest airlines, and also area safety coordinator for the Airline Pilots Association. Now, Captain Ruddy, your association has told both Congress and the FAA that using the wide-body jets at National could result in a fatal crash. Why has not the FAA heeded that warning?
Well, I think the first thing we should emphasize for your viewers is that Washington National is not an unsafe airport. The wide-body aircraft themselves are not unsafe, but we feel strongly that a combination of the two in the restricted environment in the Washington area, Washington National area, will not provide an acceptable level of safety for the passengers.
Well, based on that fact, they are bringing these two items together, this safe airport that is safe without the jumbos and this jumbo aircraft that's not safe there. The question has to be, if you've said this to the FAA, and if you're the people that are flying these airplanes in, why have they not heeded your message?
We have not said that it's unsafe. We have said that there are serious issues that have not been resolved. Two in particular, the problem of wake vortex, and the other issue of thorough operational evaluation flights under adverse weather conditions.
Let's break that right down so people understand what we're talking about. Are you saying that the airport would not be safe if jumbo jets land there?
No.
You're not saying that?
No.
It would be safe?
I can't say that it's safe. Under the conditions that exist today, there are questions, problems that have not been addressed, properly addressed. So we don't know the answer, and we don't want to find it out with passengers.
Are you saying that the FAA is ready to give the wide-body jets the go-ahead without having the proper testing procedures?
The testing procedures that we have seen are inadequate in our view.
All right. Do you think that perhaps allowing jumbo jets to land at National Airport creates an unacceptable risk of danger?
Under the present circumstances, the very serious issues have not been resolved, and we don't feel that the passengers should be used as, shall we say, test passengers.
All right. Well, that's a very serious charge since we live in this area. This is our area. What is the risk? Please, we don't want to scare the audience, but we do want to define the risk.
What are the issues that you're talking about?
We don't want to scare the audience either.
The vortex, for instance.
Okay, the vortex. A wake vortex is a rotating cone of very high velocity air that comes from each wingtip of the airplane. It's been measured up to 150 miles an hour velocity. An aircraft following a generating aircraft, in other words, a narrow body following a wide body, if it encounters this, can be upset completely. Airplanes have been just completely knocked out of the air and destroyed. FAA has a separation criteria that provides 5 miles minimum separation between, shall we say, the wide body, and the narrow body.
Let's look at the difference between these two aircraft as well now.
Fine.
You're saying that the DC-10, because it's bigger, and here we have
and heavier, right.
And heavier, would have an impact on the smaller aircraft coming in behind it.
Correct. The heavier and larger the aircraft, the more intense and longer lasting the vortex. You can see from the picture here that the DC-10 has a significantly larger wingspan. The vortex field is about twice the span of this DC-10 wingspan, and if this DC-9 were to encounter it...
Okay, the DC-10 is at the bottom,
right.
The DC-9 is a smaller aircraft at the top.
Yes, if the DC-9 were to encounter the vortex of the 10 and the DC-9 were close enough that the vortex had not dissipated, it could really give it a fit. FAA's separation criteria between these two aircraft is 5 miles. The Air Force requires a minimum of 10 miles. Now, at a large airport, you may be able to fly your aircraft in such a fashion that you're offset from the track of the big one. You can't do it at National.
National has a heavy airflow, I take it, and also the approach over Potomac. That offers...
That's correct. Coming down the river, the narrow, winding approach with the last turn over the 14th Street Bridge, excuse me, puts you in a position that you can't visualize where the vortex may be. And if you hit it at the 14th Street Bridge, it can be a very bad day.
As a pilot for one of the major airlines, would you fly the DC-10 in here if you were ordered to do so?
Yes, we would, with considerable reluctance, because the problems have not been resolved. If we knew clearly that it was unsafe, nobody would do it. We feel strongly that it has not been resolved, so therefore we're in this dilemma that has not been addressed by FAA.
You also point out that the FAA has done their testing only under conditions, optimum conditions. In other words, they haven't brought these big jets in under rainy conditions. Does that make a big difference?
It certainly does. FAA's own accident statistics bear out the fact that accidents occur in relation to the weather conditions that exist. The worse the weather, the more frequent the accidents. As a result, these tests were done under excellent weather conditions. We want to see them done under bad weather conditions, which will more nearly simulate what we have to deal with.
All right, just summing it up in quick conclusion then, you're saying that National Airport itself is not unsafe.
That's
and
correct.
the planes themselves are not unsafe.
That's
but
correct.
taken together, this creates, would you call it an unacceptable safety risk?
This is exactly what we have said.
An unacceptable safety risk.
Based upon the information that we have to date, we feel it's an unacceptable risk.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Captain Ruddy.
Appreciate it.
We'll see what happens tomorrow, Chris, on the FAA. As I said, we expect that announcement to come, and be some questions, obviously, from this to put to the FAA if in fact they do approve it.
Well, that's certainly true. We called, might add, we both called the FAA today, and they didn't have any response. They didn't want to talk until tomorrow.
Well, we'll see
so
what
we will
happens
see tomorrow. Okay. Fred Weiss is here with our weather. Hi, Fred.
Hi there. How are you?
Good.
That was a very interesting discussion.
Thank you. It's a hot one, huh?
Yeah. I love to fly international. You come in and you see this gorgeous city at night, and as long as it's safe, it's a beautiful place to come into. And if you're flying, last week we came back from Tennessee, and about 80 miles off were thunderstorms with lightning. I find that very fascinating. I guess it scares some people, but I think it's thrilling. Hey, we hit the 21st day today of our extended heat wave, 21 days in a row, and 98 was today's maximum temperature, and that ties the all-time record for this date that was set in 1926. 87 is our normal. 73 was the minimum last night, and 68 is normal. Right now at 5 o'clock, 97 degrees Fahrenheit, 36 Celsius, relative humidity 34%. Winds are out of the southwest at 14. They're gusting up to 23, and the barometer 29.93 inches of mercury, and at the moment it is falling. Now, I hear you asking the big question, which was worse, the one in 1872 or the one in 1980? Well,
which was worse, Fred?
See, I knew you were asking that. In 1872, they had one day where the temperature hit 101 degrees. In this spell, we had 2 days that hit 100 degrees. In 1872, for that 18-day period, which established and tied the record of that time, they had an average temperature of 94.5. For our 18 days, we were 0.2 of a degree higher at 94.7. But if you figure it through yesterday, when we hit our 20th day in a row, we come out exactly the way they did in 1872, 94.5 degrees. So it's not a great deal different than it was 108 years ago. Doesn't look like it's over. We may still hit another 90-degree day tomorrow. And then we have a front that's moving in from the Midwest, and it should at least bring some cooler, drier air and drop our temperatures down, maybe even into the low to mid-80s. And that is good news. I'll have a complete look at the weather a little later on News 7. Paul, Chris?
Well, Chris, I never thought we'd get to the day that we think 80 sounded good to us around this time.
It's hot, but at least the humidity the last 2 days, the humidity has not been quite as oppressive.
Well, speaking of hot, the fever's hot, no doubt about that, and everyone's got it. They're cheering the Orioles on, and tonight the Birds start a 5-game homestand, and it begins against the Yankees. And who else should have the spirit but our own Tim Brandt, who is live in Baltimore's Memorial Stadium with a look at tonight's game. Tim?
Paul, they do have the spirit. It's like World Series pennant drive fever right here in Baltimore now. Mayor Schaefer has declared the Magic Oriole Week. They are letting everybody out of work early so they can get there. And who else to bring in to talk about the Orioles than one of the all-time greats, Brooks Robinson. And Brooks, with 47 games left to play, it still seems too early for me to think about a pennant fever.
Well, I agree with you, Tim. It is a little early to be thinking about it, but the fans have made this pennant race as early as they possibly could, because this has really been the first time that they've had something to cheer about all year. You know, if you look at it, the Orioles were like 11.5 games out not too long ago, and now they've cut it down to 3.5, and they're letting it all go.
What does it feel like for the players? I know in football everybody gets all mentally ready for a game. You can't get close to the players. Here, everybody's out here taking batting practice. They're all loose.
Well, they're having a good time, I'll tell you. A lot of them went through the World Series for the first time last year, and believe me, they're loose and relaxed and having a good time. And this is not a do-or-die series by any means. All the Orioles have to do to really stay right in it is win 2 or 3 ball games, and I guess New York feels that they want to win 2 or 3 too. But I think that if they do that, it's going to be an exciting race because both teams leave here on Monday after the game to go to the West Coast. And the 40 or so games will be played against the same teams. We don't see New York again, but we play the exact same teams the rest of the season, and it ought to be exciting.
5-game series here in Baltimore. The key is for the Birds just to get a couple of the wins?
I think so. That's what they have to do. If they can get 3 wins, they'll be very happy, I'm sure.
Brooks, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
One of the all-time greats, Brooks Robinson. He said it all. They just have to get a couple of the 5 here in Baltimore, and that's the story from Memorial Stadium. Chris, Paul?
Pretty good out there.
It's a 5-game series, and then they have an 11-game road trip, and it's going to be very exciting.
If they can beat the Yankees, who cares about the rest of the league, you know?
All right, we're going to beat the Yankees, sweep it?
Sure.
All of them?
All of them.
Sure. You heard it first right here. Still to come on News 7.
New York, we can do it down here.
At home, it would be easier. John Spiropoulos looks into what would happen to the district if motorists, if they suddenly got hit with a gas shortage. What would be the result? The district gas tax is a story coming up next.
We'll find out from John. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
For Football 80. Scout the teams. Get the plans with Sports Illustrated's college preview and NFL scouting reports. This announcement in Sunday's paper tells how to get both, along with Sports Illustrated at half the cover price. And here's a bonus just for watching. Circle the football on the card and get 4 extra issues free. Get it all. 2 big preview issues, SI at half price, 4 bonus issues. Look for this announcement Sunday. Scout the teams. Get the plans with Sports Illustrated's college preview and NFL scouting reports. This announcement in Sunday's paper tells how to get both, along with Sports Illustrated at half the cover price. And here's a bonus just for watching. Circle the football on the card and get 4 extra issues free. Get it all. 2 big preview issues, SI at half price, 4 bonus issues. Look for this announcement Sunday.
Saturday, August 16th, it's the fabulous Oak Ridge Boys in concert at Charlestown Racetrack.
Never have I done it when it looks so right. In the broad daylight.
Yes, it's multiple Grammy Award winners, the Oak Ridge Boys, in concert at 6 p.m. right before the races, all for just $4 admission. Don't miss the Oak Ridge Boys, Saturday, August 16th at 6 p.m.
And we will sail away on the wings of love into the night.
At Charlestown Racetrack in nearby Charlestown, West Virginia.
It's right at the corner. Tyson's is everything. It's right at the corner. Everything centering right at Tyson's Corner.
A dozen stores are celebrating Tyson's dozenth anniversary. It's going to be a doozer of a party, all leading up to cutting our 12-foot cake. We've baked in 144 car keys, all good for prizes. And if you've got the right one, winning a free Ford Pinto is a piece of cake.
Tyson's Corner Center.
Hi, I'm Neil Ockwitz. I was part of Terrapin Tradition. You can be too. Call today.
Here's the give. Charlie Wysocki off the right side. He'll score. Reaching out and being part of Terrapin Tradition.
Most of the controversy involving D.C.'s new gas tax has revolved around the price increase. But News 7's John Spiropoulos says there's yet another problem lurking beneath the surface.
That's right, Chris. The new gas tax has caused a 41% drop in business at 10 gas stations surveyed by News 7. And that fact points toward a hidden effect the tax may have on the future supply of gas in the district.
Remember this? The gas lines of '79. But if there's another shortage, things could be much worse inside city limits. Here's why. During a shortage, dealers get only a percentage of the gas they sold the year before. That's how the allocation system works. And if a shortage popped up a year from now, gas allocations would probably be figured on how much gas dealers sold this August, and city stations aren't selling much now. Here's how the city would be hurt, figuring dealers get a 90% allocation. That is, 90% of the gas they used to sell. Say a station sold 50,000 gallons a month before the tax. During a shortage, it would get 45,000 gallons. But the tax has put a real crimp into business. Many stations go long stretches without a customer. And now business drops to 30,000 gallons a month. During a future shortage, the station would get just 27,000 gallons. So it's a good bet the gas lines would be longer, because there would simply be less gas in the city. The comparison? 45,000 gallons a month before the tax, 27,000 gallons after. A huge loss at just this one station.
Where will the gas be? In the suburbs. And many district residents will find they have no choice but to waste precious fuel trekking out to the suburbs for a fill-up. Chris, Paul?
This was probably unforeseen by the district when they put in the gas tax. Is that correct?
They were supposedly warned about all the different aspects. Vic Rasheed of the Gas Dealers Association told me they kind of warned them about this, but it was kind of passed off.
Any response from the city government?
The city, only thing that we can talk about is that there's a 4 cent a gallon compromise proposal that's kind of kicking around, but who knows?
Okay. Paul?
Okay, thank you, John. In Upper Marlboro this afternoon, union teachers joined striking Prince George's County employees on the picket line in a show of solidarity. As these picketers walked in front of the county office building, final arrangements were being made for talks tomorrow afternoon with county and union negotiators and a federal mediator. Now, this is the first sign of a possible break in a 3-day-old strike. So far, the impact on county services has been minimal. County Executive Larry Hogan ordered most employee leave canceled a week before the strike began.
Well, what's ahead?
Well, what's ahead is looking back. As a matter of fact, you know about that. You'll be looking back about some old Social Security ways.
45 years old today. We'll have that and more. The News 7 continues.
Okay.
We really asked for it. Question, why do you read U.S. News and World Report?
There isn't another magazine that tells me so much so fast.
U.S. News doesn't give you both sides of the issues. It gives you all sides.
It helps me understand how the news affects my family, my business, and my finances.
What do you mean, why do I read U.S. News? Doesn't everybody? Well, maybe not everybody, but over 8 million people have made our magazine their magazine. Why? Because U.S. News brings you factual reporting that's clearly written, analysis that's clearly labeled, and more interviews with important figures in the news than any other magazine in the world.
Reading an interview with Senate Majority Leader Byrd is like having him talk right to me. Like having him tell me what he thinks about a big issue.
U.S. News? It's a magazine that respects your intelligence.
Just in recent months, U.S. News dealt with such questions as how homeowners can save on energy, how to survive inflation, the Cold War's impact on business, taxes, and prices. And every issue of U.S. News includes 5 valuable newsletters. Tomorrow, Worldgram, World Business, U.S. Business, and news you can use in your personal planning to help you save money, protect your investments, and cut your taxes. Unbiased reporting makes U.S. News invaluable. And now you can get it at a price that makes it a better-than-ever value. Imagine U.S. News and World Report for as little as 40 cents an issue. That's right. Order now, and you can get 25 issues for only $9.87.
Right now, take advantage of a special money-saving trial subscription offer from U.S. News and World Report by calling 800-331-1000. It's 25 weeks for only $9.87. You save 20% off the regular subscription price. That's just about 40 cents a week. To order, call this toll-free number, 800-331-1000. Tell the operator you want the money-saving 25-week trial subscription to U.S. News for only $9.87. You'll be billed later, but call now.
Today, we're looking back to the time when older people first found relief for worries about financial security.
Until this century, many people considered poverty synonymous with incompetence. That prevented Congress from enacting any kind of social benefits. But with the Industrial Revolution came a new push to protect people in their old age. What was known as the Wagner-Lewis Bill, or the Social Security Act, was passed by Congress 45 years ago. And on August 14, 1935, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the bill.
We must face the fact that in this country, we have a rich man's security and a poor man's security, and that the government owes equal obligations to both. There is still today a frontier that remains unconquered, an America unreclaimed. This is the great, the nationwide frontier of insecurity, of human want and human fear.
45 years later, and people say the system's in trouble. Experts say that even higher Social Security taxes won't keep the system from going broke by the year 2028. Some people claim that the government should start taxing Social Security benefits, at least for people with sizable retirement incomes from other sources. Whatever happens to Social Security is once again in the hands of Congress.
Interesting. 2028. I'll be about 45 and ready for it. Okay. Tomorrow night we are on News 7 at 5:30. We'll go back to the scene of a $100,000 burglary in College Park. And in our Prince George's County Crime Solvers Case of the Week, we'll talk with a woman who wants her property back. Chris?
And looking back, we'll zero in on Woodstock. I think you're going to like this one, a little up-tempo. This weekend is the 11th anniversary of that famous music and cultural gathering in upstate New York. And we'll also have a report on the FAA's official announcement of changes at National Airport.
Okay, Renee is standing by to tell us what's coming up at 6. Renee?
Renee is sitting by to tell you what's coming up at 6. Tonight on News 7 at 6, Tim Brandt will be back live from Baltimore, where baseball fever is hotter than the temperature. Fred Weiss will tell how the current heat wave stacks up against the summer of 1872. Gary Axelson reports on the abortion controversy brewing in Prince George's County. And Penny Mickleberry says the district government is trying to learn how to save money from one official who's already saved millions. All that coming up next.
How are you going to get all that into an hour?
Oh, we'll manage.
Oh.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
See you then.
Okay.
Good night.
If you're hungry for Mexican food, have a pizza. The Pizzerito at Shakey's.
Hey, Stuart Ford in legendary Froggy Bottom is having a $99 sale. You can buy this 1980 Fairmont for $99 down or $99 a month.
You can buy this 1980 Ford pickup for $99 down or $99 a month.
$99 down
Or $99 a month.
Get you a new Ford car
Or truck.
at Stuart Ford. And see the all-new 1980 Mustang convertible at Stuart Ford.
La la, sazón. La la, sazón.
81X out on 2. Let's go. Ready?
The Sasson collection is now at all Woodward and Lothrop stores.
The Skins take on the Cleveland Browns Monday at 8. News 7 with David Shoemaker at the Democratic National Convention in New York and Renee Poussant in Washington.
Good evening. I'm Renee Poussant. David is at the Democratic Convention at New York's Madison Square Garden, and that's where President Carter will be later tonight, accepting his party's renomination. Tonight, the convention will be Mr. Carter's completely, but will the Kennedy delegates love him tomorrow? Do they love him now? Enough to work for the president this fall. David Shoemaker is standing by right now in New York with a live report. David?
Renee, it would appear that the chances of any widespread walkout have largely dissipated in the past 24 hours, partly because the president has gone quite a way towards appeasing his critics, partly because of the endorsement of Senator Kennedy, but mostly, I would guess, because not many delegates really want to miss the final scene here tonight when the senator and the president appear at the podium at the same time. The senator has promised that he will indeed be there. Still, about a half dozen Kennedy delegates from the district and from Maryland did decide today to beat the rush and flew home early. 2 Kennedy delegates from Prince George's County, however, are emphatically against a walkout. Will you walk? Are you going to stay Democrats? You're going to support the president over Ronald Reagan? What about the future?
You never walk out on the president of the United States. Never.
Jerry McDonough's candidate won't be accepting the nomination tonight. A blow to the Prince George's County delegate, but he wants to stay at the convention until the last possible moment. This past week has been the high point of his life, says the retired Veterans Administration bureaucrat, and all the more special because he has shared it with his son, Jerry Jr., a councilman from Prince George's County. Jr., like Sr., is a Kennedy Democrat, and like Father, has found a great deal of satisfaction in the past week even though his man lost.
Try as you might, you get a little cynical after a while, and this really was like a shower, you know, a mental shower. It erased a lot of the cynicism that had built up in me over the years.
Both McDonoughs have taken the business of the past week seriously. They've been on the floor constantly. Well, they did play hooky once.
I always slid down to see the great Santini. I was in the Marine, flew F-4 to the Marine Corps and was filmed in my old squadron. And I don't think it'll be a commercial success. I want to catch it here in case it doesn't get to the neighborhood theaters.
Is that all you've been doing?
No, the other night, Billy Hardigan from Boston invited me to attend the reception for Speaker O'Neill and his wife afterwards, and I lost my voice trying to out-talk 3,000 Boston Irishmen. I couldn't do it.
Oh, I thought you got it here cheering for Kennedy.
No, I lost it afterwards.
Cheering on the losing side costs as much as cheering for the winner, and the McDonoughs were stunned by New York City prices. Jerry Jr. thinks he spent about $1,000.
$1,000, but I didn't know it cost him anything because I've been paying all the checks.
That's why I got him elected, so he could pay the bills.
Their man beaten, their billfolds flat, Jerry McDonough, father and son, will cheer themselves hoarse again tonight, even if Jimmy Carter is not an Irishman. Was it worth it?
Definitely, yes. Every penny.
David Shoemaker, News 7 at the Democratic National Convention.
Thank you, David. Closer to home, there may be a break in the 3-day-old Prince George's County employees strike. News 7's John Harder says that after a rash of phone calls today, a meeting has been set for tomorrow.
These picketers have new hope. At 2 o'clock tomorrow, representatives of Prince George's County and AFSCME will meet at a federal mediator's office in Washington. This word signals the first move to end the 3-day-old strike by as many as 1,400 Prince George's County workers. This morning, when Circuit Court Judge James Ray continued a show cause hearing for jail guards who are ignoring his back-to-work order, the judge said that he strongly urged both sides to meet with the mediator.
But for County Executive Larry Hogan, the mediation session could mean face saving would be tough. Hogan said he absolutely would not negotiate as long as the strike continues. His county attorney has explained the meeting with the mediator is not considered